You Mindset Monday. Hey, hope you again had a awesome week. And as we start a new week, what I wanted to talk about today is, are you letting this 3% stop you from achieving your goals, getting what you say that you want in your life? Um, I mean, hurting relationships, pretty much anything in your life that this 3% can basically rob you from doing. Now, do you know what it is? It could be a lot of different things. I know. Well, I'm going to tell you, and it's worry. Worry about things that we really don't have control over. And worry is one of the things that keeps us from sometimes getting the things that we want. Because if and I'm challenged with this as well, is worrying about something is basically creating a story around something in our mind that has not yet come to pass. And that's really all worry is. And unfortunately, so many of us do this sometimes on a multiple basis. But I want to share some good news with you today on the subject of worry. Is that there was a study done at Cornell University, and what they found out was basically is that only about 3% of the things that we actually ever worry about actually turn out the way that we have created that story in our mind. 3%, right? I- I'll take the 97% that those things that don't ever happen that we worry about. And they said 85% of the things that we worry about actually never ever happen, right? The way that we sound. And the ones of that other 15%, only a small percentage of those actually come to fruition that actually happen. And a lot of the times is that if they happen, they don't happen as bad as we thought they were going to happen. And we're actually able to handle whatever happens. It's that 3% that they look at and gotta go, yep, it happened this, it turned out that way. And so I want to share this with you today and really in a kind of a message of hope is that one, and I get it, one of the biggest challenges is not to worry. If you have kids and they're out doing something and you're not with them, and it's like, oh, I'm worried about their safety, right? It can be so many different things in my business. It's like, things are going on in the stock market or the real estate market or whatever it is that you do. It's like, and we look at this, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to control this, right? Where it's just like, well, if I do this, what happens then? If something, and we always want to go to, unfortunately, the worst case scenario. It's unfortunately how our mind is wired versus kind of looking at this and looking at the positive part of this. The worry is what robs us of all of the joy, of all of the things that we say that we want, because we get fixated on the negative. And that's what the worry is. And we can call it, hey, I'm just concerned, right? At the same time, it usually boils down to is that we have worry. Will we ever eliminate all the worry? Well, I'm 59 years old and I have not been figuring out a way to eliminate all worry. But what I have found out is a way is the calming of our mind, because then we start worrying about something, and then we're like, well, I shouldn't be worried. So now I'm worried about what I'm worried about, right? And it creates this vicious cycle. And so the key piece of this is understanding. What I found that works for me is like going, okay, I'm worried about this. And just name it. It's like we try to think, oh, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. Everything's good. It's like, I'm worried about this. Why am I? Why am I worried about this? And the more that we can take control over those thoughts of like, okay, is this even rational? What grounds do I even have around this? And it's not. We have no grounds around it. It's just our mind playing this trick on us to kind of go to the negative and to focus on that versus like going, you know what? And what I found is like what I have a phrase is like, I'm just going to set that aside. The phrase I use, I'm just going to set that aside right now. This is going on, but what I do is compartmentalize and just put it to the side. It's like, yep, I'm feeling that. That's coming up. I'm going to set that to the side. I don't want that to be a focus, and shifting a focus over to, hey, what's positive? What's in my ability? What action can I take, right? That would not cause that to come to fruition. Because if it's totally out of my hands, if it's something that's like, what happens if, this happens in the stock market? I don't have any control over that. I don't have any control over pretty much anything outside of the 3 feet of the world that I'm in, right? I have control over two things. I have control over my attitude, right? And I have control over my effort. Pretty much everything else is pretty much out of my control. I don't have control over other people. If you have young kids, yes, you have some control over those. But at the end of the day, uh, control is an illusion. Worry is an illusion. It's just to rob you of all the goodness in your life. And so I don't know who needs to hear this today. I know that there's still at times I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm looking at the ceiling, and then there's these thoughts that start racing through my head around whatever that is, business, health, whatever it is. It's it happens to all of us. And what I want to share with you today is that there's hope in that, is understanding is that, hey, all I got, it's the 3%. So we don't even focus on the 3%. Let's live in the 97% of the things that never going to come to fruition. And if they do, they're going to be not nearly as bad as what we make them out to be. So that's my word for you today is again, to work on eliminating worry is not creating stories that don't need to be created. Use the phrase, hey, I'm just going to set that aside right now. I'm going to set that aside. There's nothing I can do about that. And let me focus on what I can do. And let's focus on the positive and reframing how that situation may turn out. And usually by studies, and this isn't the only study, this one that I'm sharing with you that Cornell did. It's just one study. There's been multiple other studies around just proving that the fact that it's just less than, it's 3% at best, that anything that we're going to worry about is actually going to come to fruition. So that's my word for you today. Let's focus on the positive. Let's quit creating stories that don't need to be created. You know how we're going to know that something is true is when it actually happens. Then that's how we know. Everything else that we do is actually just a story that we create. So if you're going to be the creator of the story, just create a better story. And stay away from the worry and create the story in the life that you want. So that's what I got for you today in Mindset Monday. Hey, go out, make it an awesome week, and I'll see everybody here back next Monday. Bye-bye now.